Hi everybody, welcome to Shivers. For our Halloween movie review this week, we're talking about actual Halloween. This is from 1978 with our main character of Michael Myers. This is a classic Halloween and horror movie. So fast forward to the end if you don't want any spoilers if you haven't seen it, just for the ranking. Otherwise, here we go with the actual description and the story. So Halloween from 1978, this is directed and created by John Carpenter, who is a really classic horror movie creator. This, like I said, is created in 1978, centers around Michael Myers, who in 1963 ended up going to an insane asylum for killing his sister on Halloween night. It is now 1978, all these years later, 15 years later, and Michael Myers escapes this insane asylum on Halloween night and goes after our other main character, which is Laurie Strode. So Laurie Strode is one of the classic final girls. She is one of the classic Halloween and horror movie characters in general as well. And really an absolute amazing character, especially for that time. You know, Laurie's just this really like girl next door type of vibe, but with a very wholesome and honest nature to her. She's just a teenager, she's just a babysitter, and on Halloween night is not going out and partying, not doing all the things that all these other victims would end up doing, but rather being responsible and out home and kind of doing all of that. So there are a couple of theories and ties that say that Michael Myers and Laurie Strode are long lost siblings. There are a couple of explorations of this in some of the movies that follow the original Halloween, but in the original Halloween, it's really not confirmed why Michael Myers goes after Laurie Strode. So the opportunity there for the rest of Halloween night is that Michael Myers is just going on this killing spree, getting closer and closer to Laurie Strode, who becomes our final girl. So we do have Dr. Loomis, Samuel Loomis, who is the overseeing doctor of Michael Myers. He basically spends the majority of the movie chasing after Michael and trying to find him. We also have a couple of other teens that again are going out and partying on Halloween night. They're all trying to convince Laurie to do something similar, and again, she's just the responsible one to stay home and babysit. So we have a couple of just supporting characters, but really our main characters are Michael Myers, Dr. Loomis, and Laurie Strode. So as the night goes on, it is a stereotypical Halloween night. Michael escapes, goes after all of these teens, winds up with Laurie Strode before getting caught by Dr. Loomis at that point. So it is a very straightforward movie. It's really not, there's not a whole lot to talk about in terms of the storyline because it is just all happening in real time. You know, we're not jumping 2 hours later, 5 hours later. It is just all unfolding. He escapes, goes after them, not super successful. There we go from there. As we've had a couple of remakes and also sequels to this film, we get closer and closer of that tie between Laurie and see her develop over time to become this like real badass. And especially in this most recent one of Halloween Ends, everyone in the town is sort of looking at her with eyes wide open, judging her, making fun of her, kind of saying that she's the reason why Michael Myers has tormented this town of Haddonfield, and she just absolutely doesn't take it. So we have a really amazing character develop also in real time as Jamie Lee Curtis herself ages. But it is this idea of like what one event can kind of do to you, and you can be super responsible and still, you know, you're not necessarily entirely in control. So the other story that does explain a little bit of the theory side of things is Rob Zombie's version of Halloween. This focuses on a little bit more of a violent version of Michael Myers, and in stereotypical Rob Zombie fashion. It is pretty gory and over the top, but you kind of either love or hate that one. But for the rating of the actual original Halloween movie, for the story itself, I would give it a 4 out of 5. I'm not the most, I wouldn't say, I am not the biggest Halloween fan. I'm not the biggest, if I were to pick my favorite classic horror movies, Halloween does not fall on that list. But I have to give credit where credit is due. So for story, I would give it a 4 out of 5. And for originality, I would give it a 5 out of 5 for that same reason. It is something that is just you have to appreciate it for the time. And especially the character of Laurie Strode, of just being responsible and not just being this woman for show. Like, she's a responsible young adult. And it's nice to see that practicality and relatability on screen as well. For acting, I would give it a 4 out of 5. We do have a lot of really stupid teenagers, and some of the things that they do are a little over the top. So it takes you out of it just a little bit. For production, I would give it a 4 out of 5. I think we have the streets, we have the area, we have the land, we have everything that we're sort of paying attention to and looking out for, but there's not much other than that that's going on. But again, for the time of 1978, like, it's pretty impressive what they did create. And then for scares, a lot of people consider this very scary, you know, the idea of Michael Myers just sort of hovering in the background with his mask, which is also the mask of William Shatner just turned inside out from Star Trek. But you have this sort of scary, ominous person that's in the back, more than just your stereotypical serial killer or slasher movie. So for that, just more of an audience perspective on that one, I would give Scares maybe a 3.5 or a 4 out of 5. You know, again, the classic movies for their time is what we're really looking at, rather than the classic movies, how they stand now. You know, we talked about Black Phone 2 last week, and that version of scary versus Halloween 1978 scary is two different conversations. So we're just talking about for the time. So all in all, this gets a 4.1 out of 5. I think Halloween is really great. I think it is something that is worth watching every year at this time of year. Again, for the classic horror ratings, I wouldn't necessarily pick Halloween out of that list, but I do have to give credit where credit is due. And John Carpenter is one of the best to ever do it, so we have that as well. So let me know your thoughts on the Halloween movies, the original or any of the sequels that follow, and anything that you're watching this time of year as well. Thanks as always for watching, for listening, and we will see you on Friday for a review of Shelby Oaks. I have very high expectations for that one, so let's see how it goes.